Mr. Krishnan Ravishankar is the country head of Harrison Assessments, which focuses on providing employee assessment tools in the industry. With over 30 years of experience, Mr. Krishnan specializes in building and fostering proactive organizational culture with people initiatives at the core. He focuses on integration of corporate values to build a healthy, productive and proactive organizational culture.
So many students here, I don't see the morning very bright. Good morning! Okay, I represent Harrison Assessments. I am one of the principal coaches and partners in India. The subject today, which I'll be sharing with you, is on how to plan your career. In my opinion, career planning is a common sense approach, very uncommon in people. That's why many times we land in careers which are not our cup of tea. Having said this, let me share a very interesting example. 3 people were cutting stones, and an economic professor wanted to really study their job. He asked the first person, "What are you doing?" He said, "Don't you see I am cutting stones in the hot sun?" He went to the second stone cutter and asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I work here for 12 hours a day. I get paid a couple of hundred rupees. I use this to feed my large family." He went to the third stone cutter and asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I am preparing these stones for building a beautiful temple." Now my question to the audience is, which of these 3 stone cutters do you think is going to be highly productive? Yeah, can you be louder, please? The third one. Any reason? Can you please give me one reason which you think the third stone cutter is going to be highly productive? Please go ahead, quick. Say it. Okay, please give her a big hand. The most important reason or the difference between the first 2 stone cutters and the third one is this. The first one was cutting stones because he did not get a better job. Right? He was already frustrated. Somebody else giving him a better job, he will jump. The second one was doing it for money. Right? He was not enjoying the job. The third one, not only was enjoying the job, but he knew the purpose behind the job. He knew the purpose behind the job. And obviously, he is going to be more productive and more engaged on the job. Let me share with you 2 very interesting examples from real life situation. A student came to me after finishing her MA in applied psychology. Listen to this very carefully, because I'm going to turn all of you into a psychologist in the next 5 minutes. You don't have to be a student of psychology. This girl passed her applied psychology master's program with a gold medal from one of the top colleges in Bangalore. She did not get a job for 2 years. Her father was a good friend of mine, and he said, "My daughter is highly depressed. She is a gold medalist from the college. She is an athletics captain. She is a volleyball captain. She is a basketball captain. But in spite of her best academic credentials, she could not get a job. Can you do something about this problem?" So I said, "I'm not a magician, but the only thing which I can do is to find out what is that career she is going to enjoy the most." Right? So when I did an evaluation on this girl, 5 points came out very, very interestingly out of this analysis. I'm going to say what are these 5. I want you to make a note of it if possible, so that all of you will become a psychologist in the next 5 minutes. Because in my opinion, career planning is a simple, common sense approach, but very uncommon in people. Like in accountancy, if you forget the basic principles of accountancy, you can never get your accounts right. Okay? I'm sure some of the BCom guys sitting here will know what are the basic 3 accounting principles. Now, the 5 critical points of evaluation are, number 1, her score on sports as an area of interest was 10 out of 10. Her subject of interest, one of the subjects of interest she had was psychology, 9.8 out of 10. Number 3, she had a preference for outdoor activities. Her score was 9.2 out of 10. She had a preference for travel frequently. Her score was a 9.5 out of 10. And she had a high comfort level or expectation for wanting challenging situations in her day-to-day life. Score was almost 9.9. There are many other points which came out, but these are 5 critical points which can help you using your common sense to say what type of career this girl should choose. She applied for many corporate companies. She did not get a job. 2 years in India. Gold medalist applied psychology. Now, I want any one of you ready with an answer based on these 5 critical trait scores to tell me what is that career this girl is ideally suited for. Anyone in the group? Here. Anyone? Sports psychology. Wonderful. Please give him a big hand. In fact, I did not say anything to this girl. I asked her father, can you spend a little bit more money on your daughter's higher education? He said yes. I said, please ask her to explore opportunities in Australia to look for an 18 months program on sports psychology. And then come back to me. This girl was so smart. She came back the next day and said, Uncle, these are the 3 universities in Australia which are the top universities for sports psychology program, and they even give a financial aid to people who are really good. She applied for that university, she got the admission, she completed. This is an 8-year-old story. Today she is working as a sports psychologist with one of the Olympics teams of Australia. That's all it takes to plan your career. Now let me take you through something very interesting. I will be touching upon all these 3 aspects today. The first one is understanding your personal and technical strengths. We call it in Harrison terminology, eligibility and suitability. Please remember, every job, every career, if you want to be successful, you need to be strong on eligibility and suitability. One without the other will not give you a success. You take cases of very successful people, a cricketer like Sachin Tendulkar, a singer like S.P. Balasubramaniam. You take, for that matter, in any field, corporate world, people who have been successful, they did it because of only one reason. They had a high eligibility and high suitability. Let me explain to you what are these 2 factors so that you know how to plan your career. The number 2 thing I'll be touching upon is how do you align your career to your interest and your passion. Very critical, let me tell you. If you don't align your passion to your profession, you are gone. You may be in a career, but you will not be in a very successful career. If you want to achieve very big within the shortest time, you need to really understand how to align these 2 factors, passion and profession. And the last one, balancing your personal interest and your professional interest. Having said this, I'm going to quickly share with you some research findings from a global perspective. What makes good career and what you need to really focus on evaluating if you want to have a successful career. Number 1 is there are 175 work preference inventory factors which one needs to evaluate in order to know what exactly is the right career for you. 175 factors. These are factors which are covering nearly 8 critical areas. I will touch upon that very soon. Number 2, your inherent interest and its alignment to your career is very crucial for your career success. Okay? Your academic is only a passport to get into a job. But many times I have seen what you do academically, it's not what you really want to be doing in your career. Right? This is a reality. Number 3, your life themes. I'm sure most of you will be surprised when I'm sharing this global research finding. What is a life theme? Life theme is nothing but your DNA behavior. All of us have a DNA behavior, which is behavior by birth. There are 5 critical behaviors in each one of us which could be different from person to person, and these are called your strongest behaviors. Now, these strongest behaviors, if they don't align with your career, you are a fish out of water. I want you to understand this point very clearly. Even at least 3 out of these 5 DNA strongest behaviors, if they align with your career, you are going to make it very big very soon. That's for sure. So you need to really know what's your DNA behavior. Because DNA behaviors, we call them life themes. The reason is they don't change throughout your life. That's why we call them the behavior from the womb to the tomb. Right? Whatever life experience you may go through, they don't change throughout your life. The next very important thing which I want you to focus on is task and environmental preferences. You should know what task you like to do. You should also know what environment you prefer working in, because it varies from person to person. You need to identify what are the tasks which you enjoy doing, and more of those tasks in your career, the more is going to be your success rate. You must know in what environment you will really enjoy working, and you are able to get a career in that environment, you are going to be really successful. The next very important thing is your strongest behavior are not your strengths. How many people know this? This is one of the greatest research findings called paradox behavior. Your strongest behavior is not your strength, it's your weakness. Let me give you an example. You may be a very frank, outspoken person. Frankness by itself is not a strength. It's the biggest weakness. Do you know that? Unless it is balanced by diplomacy. Frankness coupled with diplomacy makes you an effective communicator, but frank by itself, without diplomacy, becomes blunt. People will start distancing from your side, right? Nobody likes to work with a person who is extremely blunt. Do you like to work? Absolutely no. Right? It's very important that you must know what are your strongest behaviors, because your strongest behaviors are behaviors which you tend to overuse in your career. Unless you know them, you cannot balance them with the paradoxical behaviors. Paradoxical behaviors are nothing but the complementing behaviors. The next very important thing is you must know what are your negative behaviors. By our research, we have identified nearly 32 negative behaviors which are going to influence your job depending on the type of job. For each job, at least 1/3 of these 32 behaviors will have a very direct negative impact. You need to know what are your scores on these behaviors, because the higher the negative behavior score, it's going to really affect your career success in a big way, notwithstanding your academic credentials as well as your work experience. Having said this, your interpersonal skills, your achievement orientation, and your leadership skills, these are 3 competencies which I very strongly feel the students must take a close look at, because without these 3 things, you cannot survive in the corporate world. Whatever be your academic credentials, your interpersonal skills, your achievement orientation, and your leadership style. These 3 makes a big, big difference in your career. There are many other competencies which are applicable, but these 3 play a very, very crucial role. Your negative behavior which I just touched upon. It vitiates the positive effects of all your positive behaviors. One or two negative behaviors being extremely strong can really kill your career. I've seen this happening to many people, right? Extremely good in their work experience, qualification, and so on and so forth, but they have certain negative behaviors which really kills them once and for all, right? It has gone to the extent of even they are losing the job, okay? Having said this, the simple formula for planning your career is ensure that there is a balance between your eligibility and your suitability. Let me tell you what is eligibility. It is all about what you can do. It's about your work knowledge, it's about your qualification, it's about your experience, length of experience, nature of experience, it's about your special certification, so on and so forth. All these are eligibility factors, and we call them the material skills. And what is suitability? Suitability involves anything and everything which is behavior oriented. Every job requires certain behavior. An HR job requires a different behavior compared to an accounts job. A CFO's behavior requirement for a job of head of finance is completely different from a head of HR. So you need to really know what career you are getting into, and you also should know how strong are your behaviors which are required for that particular career. And if you don't have them at an adequate level, you should start developing them over a period of time. And it's better to do it before you take a leap into the corporate world. That's the critical part of it. All of you have at least 4 years or at least 2 years in your MBA. You need to really know what are the critical behaviors which are required. Having said this, I want you to take a look at this very interesting slide on enjoyment performance theory. Are you able to see there are 4 critical words which are given there in blue color? Can you all say it together, the students, please? The first one, second one, third one, fourth one. Again, go back to the first one. Can you read the ones in red color, please? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and go back to 1. Okay, this is a very simple common sense approach which is called the enjoyment performance theory. Most crucial for planning your career. Whatever we enjoy, we have a tendency to repeat. Do you agree? Whatever we repeat, we start improving. Whatever we improve, we start getting positive feedback from others. That gives you a lot of self-reinforcement, and whatever positive feedback you are getting, that helps you to continue to enjoy what you are expected to do. The reverse is also true. What you don't enjoy, you will not repeat. In fact, you will procrastinate. And when you don't repeat, you don't improve. When you don't improve, you don't get a positive feedback. When you get a negative feedback, you stop enjoying what you are expected to do. That means you quit, or they make you quit. This is reality, and this is called simply the enjoyment performance theory. This is a common sense approach. It is not very but people are not focused on this. They try to plan their career in a different manner without understanding what is that they are going to enjoy the most. Right? Having said this, people who are at least 75% level of enjoyment in their work, they are going to be 4 times more successful than a normal person. The advantage is 4 times more successful. When your enjoyment level on any given job or career is at least 75% more or more, you're going to be 4 times more successful. This is a very simple formula which you need to follow. Having said this, let me quickly say the level of enjoyment decides the level of your career success. Both are very closely interconnected. Why should you go and choose a career based on your passion? Number 1 is passion directly relates to high level of engagement. Your level of engagement is extremely high when it comes to choosing a career based on passion. High quality of work experience is the second very important outcome when you are going to be choosing a career based on your passion. Number 3 is your inner motivation level is going to be extremely high. And number 4, your performance level, because of your inner motivation level being high, is also going to be on the higher side. So what is the formula? I want you to read the last line very carefully. Just marry your passion to your profession. That's all you need to do for choosing the right career. If you can remember the simple formula, marrying your passion to your profession. And you need to get all these factors evaluated very carefully. And as I told you, today with AI technology, you can do wonders. All these factors to be evaluated doesn't take more than 30 minutes. That's all it takes. Okay? Right. Having said this, let me conclude this session by saying, what are the factors you need to be evaluating? And this will be the last important input to you. One is you must know what is your strongest DNA behavior. The second one is you must know what are your inherent interests. Third, you should know what are your task preferences which you enjoy. Fourth is environmental preferences. The fifth one is motivation and your engagement factors, what really motivates you. And the sixth one is personality and behavioral traits. What are your strongest traits, moderate traits, and weak traits? And the last one is, what are the key 3 competencies and what's your strength on those competencies? Interpersonal, achievement orientation, and leadership. And the last one, don't neglect this. It's about your negative behavior. The more you are able to understand it at an early age, it's much easier for you to overcome that. Okay? Having said this, let me conclude this session by saying one more very interesting example. This is from a student who did her master's in computer science because her parents wanted her to become a computer engineer. And she asked, what next? They said, you have to go to US. Why? Because that's the future. So she went to US, she got a job in an IT company, one of the biggest companies, and worked for 15 years. Every day evening, frustrated, she comes back home and she keeps telling her parents, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. Right? I'm sitting 12 hours in front of my computer. The screen time is really killing my eyes. She had a passion for dancing, and that too Bharatanatyam dance from Chennai. She was dancing from the age of 5. And this girl, every weekend she used to be teaching dance to a small group of people. She worked for 15 years in that IT company, and one fine day she sent a message to her parents saying that I quit the job. To the shock of the parents. They said, what are you going to do? I am going to run a Bharatanatyam school. And mind you, 5 years later, this girl has established a Bharatanatyam school, and she has more than 300 students in Seattle, USA. And making 10 times more money than what she was making in the IT company. Simple secret, she married her passion to her profession. That's all it takes. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, MMA. Thank you.